Hello everyone, a different type of video from me today, and I'll be running through the best runes and item choices for Camille in the new season. I really hope this video helps you out, and if it does, then please do give the video a thumbs up as it really helps me grow my channel. I also stream high elo Camille gameplay several days a week over on twitch.tv/lolwizbe, so if you want to catch me live, then please give me a follow there as well. So for runes, not much has changed from season 10, and I still recommend what I have in my matchup spreadsheet. I've updated this recently for season 11, and I've linked this in the description below. There are two main rune pages that I recommend, and they both have some variations that are essential based on the enemy team comp. Rune page 1 is a precision tree primary, and you will take Conqueror or Press the Attack into matchups where Grasp is not needed to help you through laning phase. Take Press the Attack into squishy ranged champions such as Quinn or Vladimir Top, and take Conqueror into the rest. Take Triumph instead of Overheal or Presence of Mind, as it is the most optimal of the three, and then take a pick from Legend Alacrity, Legend Tenacity, and Legend Bloodline. These are all dependent on the enemy champions. I recommend Alacrity into matchups where you want early game pressure, like Fiora and Irelia, Bloodline into tank matchups where you can scale without issues, like Maokai and Malphite, and take Tenacity if the enemy has a lot of point and click CC, such as Fiddlesticks and Lulu. The final rune should always be Last Stand, as it completely outclasses Coup de Grace, and Cut Down is pretty much useless into every other matchup except for Kled. However, if you do struggle into Kled, then this might be the exception. The secondary tree is dependent on how confident you are in the matchup. Take the Resolve tree if you need the extra resistances for laning phase, for example if the enemy has a lot of poke or heavy all-in potential, and take the Inspiration tree if the matchup allows good scaling. You can even be greedy and take Domination secondary now, as their new Ravenous Hunter allows for good scaling with the Omnivamp and the small sustain and lane with Taste of Blood. However, I believe this is only good versus completely free lanes such as Kayle or Yasuo. For the Resolve tree, you will always take Shield Bash, as it provides the best synergy with Camille due to her passive, and you will choose between either Bone Plating or Second Wind. Take Bone Plating versus heavy all-in, such as Fiora and Riven, and take Second Wind versus constant poke, like Jason Gangplank. Onto the offense, flex and defensive runes. These depend on whether or not you run Alacrity. If you're running Legend Alacrity in the primary tree, then double Adaptive Force. However, if you're running Legend Bloodline or Legend Tenacity, then you'll want to compensate the missing attack speed, so take the attack speed in the offense slot and the Adaptive Force in the flex slot. The defensive slot should always be armor or magic resistance, depending on who you're laning against. I recommend the Inspiration tree as a secondary rune page versus matchups that don't have heavy all-in or poke, such as tank matchups or even certain bruises that you can beat in an early all-in, such as Irelia. Take Magical Footwear and Biscuits as your two runes here, as they are the best choices. Same as before, take double Adaptive if running Alacrity, and take Attack Speed and Adaptive if running Bloodline or Tenacity. The Inspiration tree should only be used if you're feeling confident in your matchup that you will not need the Resolve tree. Now on to rune page 2. This is the Grasp rune page that I assume most players have been running since Camille made an appearance in Worlds. It is very oppressive in laning, but it does not scale as well as rune page 1 does with the precision tree. This is not to be used versus every matchup, as it isn't as always easy to proc Grasp, thus being less effective. If you have experience with Camille and her matchups, you'll know that surviving laning phase and scaling is the main goal. If you're unable to do this with rune page 1, then you will want to take this rune page. I suggest this rune page versus matchups where you cannot all in them during laning, and instead need to poke them out to win lane. For example, Renekton, Tryndamere, Gragas and Jax. You'll not win the long trades versus these champs in the early game, so short trades with Grasp is the best choice here. However, if you do struggle with other matchups, especially snowball matchups such as Riven or Fiora, then this rune page will help you with laning as well. Okay, so obviously you want to take Grasp and then Shield Bash. Shield Bash, as said before, has very good synergy with Camille, and it's just the best of the three options here for her. Bone Plating is generally the best second rune choice, and it helps when facing the aggressive early bruisers. However, if you are versus poke, then please take Second Wind. The last rune, again, is preference. I prefer Revitalize due to the synergy with her passive and W healing, however others prefer the bonus health from Odor Growth, or the added tenacity from Unflinching. The secondary tree for this rune page should be the Inspiration tree, and you should always take this. You should take Boots for the free 300 gold, and the Biscuits for even easier laning. You can also sell the Biscuits if you do not need these. With the rune page, you'll take double Adaptive Force so that your poke during laning phase is increased, and you'll take armor or magic resistance based on your matchup. These are my recommendations for the two different rune pages that Camille can go, but please feel free to drop a comment below if you have any other suggestions. Now let's get on to the exciting topic, items and build paths for Season 11. Okay, so for items, I think that there are two viable build paths for Camille, each build path having its core items. Both build paths are situational and depend entirely on the enemy team comp, so Camille doesn't really have a mythic passive that benefits her as well as it would benefit other bruisers, but the items are still good on her. And by this I mean the Trinity Force, for example, the attack speed buff that it gets. For the other legendary items, that doesn't benefit Camille as much as it would benefit a Jax, because she doesn't really scale as hard with the attack speed. But anyway, so my first build path is the classical Camille build with good old Trinity Force as its mythic item. A lot of people have actually said that they don't like this item on her anymore, but trust me, it's still very strong. After completing Trinity Force, you're going to want to go for Ravenous Hydra second. The nerf of this item is definitely noticeable, but it's still a good lifesteal, and the Tiamat passive is handy for farming. I would then suggest one of two things. So I'd either go Sterex Gauge if you're focusing more on split pushing as your third item, or if you're more teamfight heavy, then Death Dance is a more optimal third item choice. Of course, take the other of the two items as your fourth item, and then your final item will be dependent on the enemy champions. You might need QSS, which actually builds into a new item now, the Silvermere Dawn. It's a bruiser item which will cleanse CC, as Mercurial Scimitar is now a crit item. You might have already built an Executioners if you're side laning versus a Fiora or Aurelia, because it's a good item to rush versus these champs, and it's also built into another new item, the Chempunk Chainsword. This is another bruiser item that applies grievous wounds and is actually much more stat effective than the old Mortal Reminder on Camille. Another good final item choice is Guardian Angel. This will help you dive the backline and stall for your team. And of course, you'll have bought boots along the way, Tub-Eyes versus AD comps, and Mercury Treads versus heavy CC or AP comps. So this is your final 6 item build. And the second build path is using Divine Sunderer instead of Trinity Force. This will be the mythic item, and this build will be better when facing tanky enemies. For example, the enemy locks a tank top, a tank and bruiser jungle, and a tanky support. Even maybe like a Galleon mid as well. This build allows for intense tank treading while still being able to burst a squishy target as well. I've done some experimenting and noticed that although this mythic item is really good, you greatly miss out on the attack speed from Trinity Force. There aren't many good attack speed items for Camille anymore, since most of them do build into crit items, which obviously don't work with Camille's Q. So the best second choice here for me, I think, is to get a Blade of the Rune King. It has been reworked slightly, so it's no longer a forbidden item, and it actually works nicely for her. And it synergizes very nicely with Divine Sunderer. You can choose to get a Tiamat before Blade of the Rune King to help with your pushing and farming. However, if you do prefer to freeze, then go straight to Blade of the Rune King. Your third item should be upgrading Tiamat into Ravenous Hydra, if you did go Tiamat, and then building Sterex and Death Dance as your final 2 items, with of course boots being built somewhere there along the way. Guys, also don't forget, pre-season has only just started. Items will be changed, nerfed, buffed, fixed, matchups changed, so this of course might change up in the future. And of course there are other items that you might want to go. For example, rushing Spirit Visage versus full AP teams. If you want more healing, if you need more armor, you might go for a Deadman's or a Randuin's. There are plenty of build choices to mess around with. This is just what I think are included in Camille's core kit. I think these are very good bruiser items for her. Unfortunately, she doesn't make great use of the mythic passives from the 2 different items. However, she is still a very strong champion in this meta. I've also had some questions around tier Camille. Of course, you can go tier of the Goddess Camille. I've seen a lot of Camille's doing it, and it does spike you very hard late game. You do hit like a truck. However, it is still delaying a spike. Personally, I'm not a massive fan of it, and I prefer these items. I've shown you what I like, and I think this is the strongest kit for Camille as of now. But I will be sure to update as soon as I figure out any more builds, if they are stronger or if they are weaker. Please do give the video a thumbs up if this has helped you out at all. It really means a lot and helps me grow my channel. If you do have any further unanswered questions, then please reach out to me on my Discord server, linked in the description below.